It's time now for Back Pages tonight here on Sky Sports News, bringing you a first look at the sports stories in the morning newspapers. Joining us tonight are the football writer and broadcaster Henry Winter and the Mirror's chief sports writer Andy Dunn. Welcome to you both. Thank you for being with us. Let's quickly run through the back pages. We'll start with an emotional-looking one. Sven-Göran Eriksson, dear Gareth, do it for me, Sir Bobby, and for England. Back page of the Telegraph. And Southgate, I want to win so much it hurts. He's not the only one. That's also the back page of the Sun. How about the Times? I like the look of this. Lovely spread. July 14th, the final. A date with destiny. Gareth Southgate punching the air. Will he be doing that come Sunday? As for the Mirror, again the line, no more years of hurt. Southgate, I want to end this trophy wait so much. And there's also a focus on Jimmy Anderson after he's brought the curtain down on his cricket career. What about the Star? Bring it home. Southgate eager to ensure no more years of hurt. There's a focus on Manchester United as well, with Ten Hag and Jadon Sancho sweeping it all under the rug. We'll get onto that later on. The Express, yeah, he still wants it so much it hurts. A couple of days before we find out if England can end that 58-year wait for their men's team to win a major trophy. And The Guardian, well, I can handle whatever comes. Calm, candid Southgate, ready for his defining moment. There's a focus as well on the Manchester City pair, Rodri against Phil Foden. And in the Eye, England's dreaming. Kane and co face Spain in a first men's major tournament final on foreign soil. And again, that line that Gareth Southgate said, I want to win so much, it hurts. Well, let's start with Andy's paper, The Mirror, and that quote that so many of the newspapers are focusing on that Gareth Southgate said. He wants to win so much, Andy, it hurts. And we, as all England fans, will know that he's not alone in that notion.
No, he's not. He was very calm today, Gareth, at the training base up in Blankenheim, just down the road from where I am now in Erfurt. He was very calmer than I thought he would be actually on 2 days before such an epic occasion. But he did emphasise how much this would mean to him. Naturally, it would mean a lot to him. But I just wondered if there are a couple of things here at play why he wants it that much that it hurts. I wonder if there's a couple of things here, such as he will say, and the team will say, they put in front of what they like to call outside noise. In other words, the criticism has not affected them, but it really has. I think it's hurt Gareth Southgate, and that has made him redouble his determination to win this trophy. And secondly, of course, is the question of what he does after this. Will he still be England manager, win or lose on Sunday? My gut feeling is that this is his fourth and last tournament, and that's why it hurts so much for him to win it. That's why he says, I want it so much it hurts. I think those two reasons have combined, really, to give him even more determination than usual ahead of this game.
Henry, what's your take?
Well, echo a lot of that. And I think that Gareth Southgate's got this remarkable ability to capture the national mood with just a few words. Just to mention the years of hurt, that will be echoed by, 55 million people back home, tens of thousands of England fans out here. The years of hurt, the 58 years since that great summer of '66. Obviously, the Lionesses have had their remarkable moment. I think they played tonight, and they're fantastic role models for their sport. But in terms of the longevity of this pain, you can see it. The Sun's back page there. And very good subhead there that Gareth speaks for all of us. You just think of the fans. You talk to the fans out here. I'm staying in a farm near where England are based, and there are one or two fans out here who've just come just to be close to the training base. Obviously, they're all heading to Berlin, and you think of all the near misses that England have had, the sort of the semi-finals, the trips to Turin. Obviously, Southgate was involved in the semi-final of the Euro '96. At home, there's so many of these moments that just sort of mark our lives, really. So the whole nation will be tuning in, and Southgate has absolutely caught that mood. And I think also quite cleverly, and echoing Dunny's point, that actually he's almost sending a message to the fans that, look, even though there'd be one or two disagreements on the road, in Germany, and there were the disgraceful scenes when one or two things got thrown at him after the Slovenia game. The fact is that everyone's together, and they will absolutely give their support. The England fans have been fantastic out here, apart from those few idiots who threw things at Southgate. But the support is there, and this is the most united England squad and fans that I can ever remember. And that is what England will need against this exceptional Spanish team.
Yeah, I know you wrote earlier in the tournament, Henry, that it felt like Southgate and England were coming towards an end game. Would that still be your gut feeling?
Again, echoing Danny, as I've done for most of my career, I think that absolutely that's the way, because it will be the fourth tournament. Look, the Football Association are desperate for him to stay on because he represents English football so well, and also because of the record financially. It's very important for them that England keep progressing deep into tournaments. The players clearly want him to stay. You only have to talk to them privately or publicly, and they're absolutely behind him. Even those who've not necessarily had, the biggest sort of game time out here, and that's a huge reflection on what a sort of engaging character he is. The fans, the match-going fans, the hardcore home and away, they absolutely want Southgate to stay because they're getting longer at tournaments rather than going home. Well, Brazil, England were out after 2 games.
Yeah, it's interesting. If not to be the boss, Andy, what next for Gareth Southgate, do you think?
Oh, he'll want to test himself at the highest level in club management. That will still be a sore that itches, the fact that it didn't go too well at Middlesbrough for him. He's at the stage of his life as well. He's 53 years of age. He'll think of himself as got plenty of years left at club level. The question is, of course, where that opportunity would come up. Would there be an opportunity for him? We thought it might be Manchester United. Clearly, that's not going to be the case now. But Erik ten Hag hasn't exactly got a long-term deal, so that could still be an opportunity going forward. I'm certain that, listen, I suspect he'd want to take a break. This is so intense out here, and Gareth, throws himself into it so intently. He'll probably want the break. But listen, I think he 100% want to test himself in the Premier League at the highest level if the opportunity arises.
Yeah. Henry, we're just looking at the front page of the I newspaper, a slightly erotic photo of Harry Kane in a jacuzzi. I'm going to ignore that. But beneath it, there's a couple of stories that have caught my eye. Kevin Garside writing in the I, please keep the handbrake off Gareth. Now, that is a sentiment echoed by many England fans. But why should Gareth Southgate listen to outside noise when he's taking his team to another final?
But I think you've got to be bold against the Spanish. I think if England sit deep, the wingers that they've got will absolutely pick England off. I think actually Gareth Southgate, and a fair few people have been calling this for quite a while, I think he has actually been bold. He's taken Harry Kane and Phil Foden off, and he's inspired substitutions the other night. But just on Dunny's point, I do hope that the Football Association looks at all his experiences, all his expertise, and either offers him a place on the Football Association board. So you've got a football man right at the heart of the Football Association. There are other good people there, but all that experience and expertise. English football has got a terrible habit down the years of not turning to expertise. The disgraceful treatment of the 66 players. Bobby Moore was sort of working for a local radio. He should have been embedded right at the heart of English football. So I hope they do that. I imagine Southgate will want to take some time off. But absolutely, I think he's been far bolder in this tournament. I mean, you look at that team, it's an attacking front six. Kobe Mainoo likes to go forward. Declan Rice likes to go forward. Obviously, Bukayo Saka, attacks. It'd be interesting to see whether he goes with a fit Luke Shaw or whether he is loyal to Kieran Trippier against Lamar, which is going to be just a big test. And then obviously you've got Jude Bellingham, Phil Foden and Harry Kane. That is not really a team that's playing with its handbrake on. Certainly not now. Certainly not in the knockout stages. Certainly not in the first half of the game against the Dutch when England were terrific.
They certainly were. Andy, also on that front page of the iSport, Sam Cunningham, lessons learnt from the painful Euro 2020 final. What lessons do you think England will have learnt from going in front against Italy and then surrendering to defeat?
Well, exactly. The lesson they learned, the lesson they will have learned, is not to sit back after scoring that very early goal. It's something that probably happened a little bit against Croatia in 2018 in the World Cup in Russia. Players have spoken over the last couple of days about that. I mean, they've spoken at length about the experience of the Euro 2020 final in 2021. Declan Rice says it still haunts him to this day what happened. And I think as much as what happened in the penalty shootout to finally condemn them to defeat, I think that pain comes from the fact that they know that that was a game that had they continued on the front foot after that goal, then they would have won that game against an Italy side who, with respect, we're probably not the best Italy side we've ever seen. They didn't qualify for the World Cup subsequently. So I think that's the regret they have. They don't regret the errors that were made in the penalty shootout and the agonising way they lost it. They regret the fact that they didn't go for the jugular in that game. They didn't press home their advantage. They allowed Italy back in. They scraped that equaliser, and then they went on to defeats. That's the lesson they've learned.
Yeah, let's hope they have come Sunday. I want to draw your attention to another story in the Telegraph. England players to share 10 million bonus if they beat Spain. Let's be honest, these are very wealthy men. 350 grand each will be a bit of a drop in the ocean to them. But in the second column, there's a line that Kyle Walker revealed on radio that some of the players not with the squad, Jordan Henderson, Harry Maguire, Marcus Rashford, are planning to fly out for the final. Henry, what does that say for the unity within this wider squad that the players not selected still want to be a part of it?
Well, first, congratulations that they managed to find flights out here.
I think they've prayed private.
I think so. I would imagine that's a fair. But even those, they're actually, some of them are difficult to find because of the huge demand. But absolutely, it shows the respect for Southgate. It shows the bonds between the players, from different clubs. I mean, Andy and I can remember sort of covering England when they were almost separate tables. Manchester United on one table, Liverpool on another table. Now they're all pulling in the same direction on the Southgate for England, even those who are not out there. So I think that is fantastic. Again, it's a compliment to the way that Southgate, when he did give those players, the heartbreaking decision that they weren't going to come out and play out here, that he did it with a certain dignity and, again, a reflection on his people skills. But no, I think it's fantastic that they are out here. Some of them actually got pre-season training, so it'd be a difficult juggling act with their club managers, possibly.
What about the front page of the Guardian Sports Supplement? I can handle whatever comes at me, but there's also this feature that they're doing on Rodri against Phil Foden, down in the bottom section of it, a country, not city rivalry. It's such an intriguing final, isn't it, Andy, because it throws together players that will play against each other so often. That happens all the time, but club mates who've achieved so much together.
It is, and Rodri has been, again, at England's media base today, Rodri was a big topic of conversation with every England player that came in, mainly because they were asked about him, they know him, because he's been outstanding in this tournament. Arguably, obviously, Lamine Yamal has captured the headlines, but Rodri's been running the show for Spain, which is remarkable considering how many games he plays for Man City, what he does week in, week out for them. And all the players have been asked about the impact of Rodri, and they've identified him. Rodri is the man, Ollie Watkins said today. He's the man. He was asked directly, who's more important to Spain, Lamal or Rodri? And he said straight away, it's Rodri. He's the man we've got to stop. Easier said than done, it has to be said. Yeah,
I think so. I could talk about England for an awful long time, but we have to take a break. We'll be back with you shortly, gents. We'll take a quick break now. When we come back, though, we'll look at more of the back pages, including this in the Times. Just the 188 test matches, 40,037 balls and 704 wickets. Thank you, Jimmy. You're watching Back Pages tonight. And welcome back to football writer and broadcaster Henry Winter and the Mirror's chief sports writer Andy Dunn. Welcome to you both. Let's take a look at some of the rest of the stories. We're going to shift our focus to a story within domestic football, the Premier League, and Jadon Sancho. Bit of a surprise, this one. Back page of The Sun. While they focused, of course, on England and the European Championship final, at the top of that page, Jadon Sancho and Erik ten Hag appear to have patched up their differences. Sancho, of course, went out on loan last season after a bit of a fallout. And that's also focused as well in the start back page too. Jadon Sancho and Erik ten Hag patching things up. And I wonder if we should start with that in this second half of back pages tonight, gentlemen. Focus on Jadon Sancho, who went to Borussia Dortmund, where he had such a wonderful first stint Henry, and back where he was loved by the fans and he had such a great relationship with Marco Reus there. Now he's back at Manchester United. Everywhere I'm reading that he's made up with Erik ten Hag. They held positive talks, but nowhere saying whether or not there was an apology forthcoming. What do you reckon?
Well, I think an apology was needed, but maybe Manchester United are being practical and they're going to try and sell him. And it looks like they'll get sort of more money for him if it looks like he's sort of committed to them. I think there's a fabulous player in Jadon Sancho. We saw glimpses of it again in the Champions League in the second half of the season. And Manchester United really do need his type of player on the right because Antony hasn't really worked out. Garnacho's better on the left. They've obviously got Rashford, who's gone back early into training and is, obviously he's got a point to prove there. So, but I imagine this still means that he will be sold.
Yeah, it seemed to me a few months ago that neither party was interested in a resolution. Does this have the fingerprints of Sir Jim Ratcliffe on, Andy?
Oh, yes, absolutely. Sir Jim Ratcliffe or Sir Dave Brailsford or Dan Ashworth or, the combination of the lot. The story was doing the rounds later on in the season after Jim Ratcliffe took over in February or took charge of the football operations, that he wanted a rapprochement between Ten Hag and Sancho. Clearly, from a business point of view, there really is, no point in having this standoff while if Sancho isn't playing or he's out on loan, his value isn't going up. So he's an asset. And as Henry says, the chances are they will sell him eventually anyway, sooner rather than later. But yes, it does have those fingerprints on it. But you know what, for Jadon Sancho as well, he needed to do it because he needs to be playing at a high level. Jadon Sancho should be out here. It wasn't long ago that we were looking at Sancho in an England camp and thinking, he's very much part and parcel of England's future, very much belonging to a group of players that now include, Saka, Foden, obviously a little bit younger than Sancho, but likes of Bellingham and Manu. And that's what he needs to do for his own sake. But yes, absolutely, Chris. And from Manchester United's point of view, let's put it this way as well. There's the recruitment of the two new coaches as well. You think has the fingerprints of, Ratcliffe, Brailsford, Ashworth on it. They're going to be heavily involved in those decisions. Ten Hag is going to be the men's coach. He will coach the football. And these sorts of decisions on what players are available, what aren't, what will be bought, what will be sold, how they'll play, will come from that football operations department that has been very, very expensively recruited.
Yeah, Henry, I don't often do this on this show, but could I ask you for a pretty much a one-word answer? Does Jadon Sancho have an England future?
Yes.
Yeah, all right, good answer. We're going to shift our focus to the cricket because Jimmy Anderson has pulled down the curtain on his simply remarkable career. Front page of the Times Sports Supplement, tests 188, more than 40,000 deliveries and 704 wickets. No fast bowler has ever done it better. What a career. And the headline, Andy, is simple. Thank you, Jimmy.
Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, the farewell that he deserved, but you cannot, I defy anyone to not believe. If they watch that today, I just watched the clip then on Sky Sports News ahead of this of Jimmy taking his 704th wickets. What a beautiful delivery, and it was actually a trademark, vintage Jimmy Anderson delivery. And you cannot help think, well, why is he going to play for the rest of the summer? How did they come to this decision, this mutual decision, so-called, that he was going to quit? Now, I would have loved to see him have this, a golden farewell, a golden summer farewell. Listen, we know that he's not going to be going to the Ashes at the end of next year. We know that England needs to start planning for that challenge because that is the be-all and end-all for them, essentially in Test cricket. Well, the be-all and end-all, but the most important thing in Test cricket. But I just don't understand why we couldn't see a summer of Jimmy. Friends of mine back home went down to Southport the other day, watched him take 7 wickets. 7 wickets pretty much, well, I think it was 5 in the morning. It's incredible. And you sort of hear him speak and you think there's almost, and when he spoke in the dressing room, again on that clip with Nasser Hussain, he say, I envy these guys because these are going to be in here for the next test and the next test. And that's where he wants to be. But overall, yes, I mean, just a sensational career. Very quickly, we had the discussion recently about greatest British sportsman when Andy Murray retired. Jimmy's in the conversation. Yeah,
I think he certainly has to be. Get down to Lancashire and see him trundling in still, hopefully, maybe even next season. Michael Vaughan has had his say, Henry. He says that Jimmy is still brilliant, as Andy says, but his view is that moving on is the right call for all parties.
Yeah, it's a really interesting column. I mean, it probably is. I mean, you look at the emotional scenes today, he is actually sort of bowing out at the home of cricket. Maybe Old Trafford would have been sort of more sort of emotional and fitting. But the fact that it was at Lord's, and then there was those great scenes when he had, was it 704 wickets and 1 pint as he stood on the pavilion. I mean, most Sunday cricketers I know, it's the other way around, 1 wicket and 704 pints. So look, he went out, in a, as a winner. And I love those scenes with him sort of bowling down to, I think it was Ben Stokes's kids in front of the pavilion. So those are scenes that will just sort of go into the annals of cricket. But I do slightly agree with Danny in terms of, what's he, 41? Pepe played in the Champions League final at a similar age. Sorry, played out in the Euros at a similar age. So there's still life in him yet. But if you're going to go out at Lord's HQ.
Yeah, and you made the point about the FA, whatever happens with Gareth Southgate, they need to keep hold of him in some kind of consultancy role. England are doing just that with Jimmy Anderson. Feels really important.
Yeah, and as a fast bowling coach, and I think Ben Stokes has very much driven that, because again, that experience, that expertise. Can you imagine if you're a young kid in the nets, wherever, test ground in the country, and Jimmy Anderson is obviously working with the main team, but is also giving his little advice, his great advice to these kids. That would be inspirational.
Certainly will. And Andy, very, very quickly, a passing of the torch, because as good as Jimmy was, he never took figures as good as Gus Atkinson's taken in a match.
Yeah. In a way, that was symbolic, wasn't it? Farewell, Jimmy, and hello, Gus, and hopefully he's got the same type of career, starting a little bit later, but 12 wickets on debut at Lord's. Don't get much better than that.
Brilliant. Andy, Henry, brilliant to have your company. We've dug into England, we've dug into Jimmy Anderson and Jadon Sancho.